A huge thank you to our sponsor, M3 Virtual Accounting, owned by Molly Morris. She handles my books for both the podcast and my personal finances, and she has been so helpful and really is somebody that I wish I had found and hired a long time ago. I think that she could help a lot of people. Even if you think you know what you're doing, it might not be a bad idea to get a second set of eyes roving over it. So just get in touch with her, m3virtualaccounting.com. She'll talk to you for free and just find out whether or not you would be a good fit. And let her know that I am the one who sent you. m3virtualaccounting.com.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, A Song of Ice and Fire to the co-host Switcheroo, the rereading. Return to Westeros HBO Spoiler Edition. Uncut, uncensored, and too hot for TV. Bringing you Chapter 69, nice, and 70, in which Jon gets stabby-stabbed, and Barristan Selmy is wielding power he doesn't want, doesn't like, doesn't want, has that been mentioned? And he's doing his best. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
All right. So, we're finally here. We're finally
I was starting to think it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I remembered that, like, when we started this, you didn't know if the stabbing was even in the series yet. And I had really thought you had been, like, spoiled on that, at least. But, extra frustrating, probably now that you know, like, how unlikely the next book feels.
Mm-hmm.
That it ends with him allegedly dying, even though I don't think there was a soul who read this that really thought he was just going to stay dead.
I can't imagine that people, like, believed that he was really dead,
Mm-hmm.
but the discourse must have been crazy.
Everybody has just, you know, even though we haven't seen evidence that Melisandre can raise the dead the way that Thoros of Myr did, everybody has just kind of assumed she can.
Oh.
You know?
So, if this, and I guess, well, maybe this is a stupid question, because I know I'm thinking of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hard Home, the episode, is after he's stabbed and brought back to life.
I
to
feel
be
like in the show it was before.
I can't remember. It's so wild well, no, it's not, because you guys know me and my memory, so it's really not shocking to anyone, except maybe just to me, because I stay perpetually shocked at just how little I remember. Like, all the time, I'm shocked by it. Like, I'd be forgetting that I'd be forgetting. So, but the idea that the Hard Home, which was a really good episode,
one of the best
right?
episodes of the show ever, yeah,
wasn't pulled from the books, when I had just thought that anything that was really good on the show.
Yeah. It's I'm really curious, like, if that was where we were heading, was it going to go the same way? There's so many things like this where there's plenty in the show that I think isn't going to happen in the books, but that's a show creation and yada yada. Mm-hmm. Then there are some things that I'm sort of like, I could see it going that way in the books, but there would have to be a whole lot that happens first to make that make sense. And then there are things like this where I'm like, I feel like this has to happen in the books, but what about it is going to be different?
So what was it when you read it? And you said, I'm sorry if you said it, and I just wasn't paying attention. You read this, and your instinct was what the first time?
He's not dead.
Automatically, you're like, no way.
I was horrified because I didn't see it coming, which is very funny on a reread because all the signs are there. Like, your girl was very much operating on hero tropes, on just, nobody is going to dislike the guy who's the good guy, but yeah, that was... I as soon as I got over my horror at the fact that he had been assassinated, I was very much like, okay, well, Melisandre's literally right there and probably witnessed this happening. I bet you he gets brought back, that this is, there's that whole thing with like Azor Ahai prophecy. And there was something in the like House of the Dragon that people took to mean that Daenerys was Azor Ahai, but I really feel like it's Jon, and I'm curious like about the sword and everything that is supposed to be created by killing something that is dear to you. I don't know. Lots of flailing sort of theories.
Lots of theories and questions that will probably never be answered.
Likely, if they don't get answered in him releasing the book, I could see George just putting up like a plot summary on his blog when he's on his deathbed.
Oh my God.
Just finally being like, all right, guys, look, I'm going to cop to the fact. I'm not releasing this book ever. Not happening. But I do just want to tell y'all what happened. So here.
Somebody, that thing that went around a week or two ago where maybe it even hasn't been that long, but recently George R.R. Martin took to I'm assuming his blog, because that's how he mainly communicates with the world.
Yeah.
To say that coming soon was going to be a write-up of basically everything they're doing wrong with House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
And that got posted a couple of different places, and it got posted in a group of men, and I just commented. I was probably going through some things in my real life that day, but my comment was, "Man, just leave me alone. Just leave me the fuck alone, please." And I meant it with everything in my body, y'all. I meant it. Man, just leave me alone. Yeah. Stop reminding me that you exist and have access to a keyboard. Just stop doing it. Stop doing it. When I went back to it, it just had like hair reacts.
That is funny. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, at this point, there are people like, fuck that guy. There are people that are like, everybody's too hard on him. And I'm at this point where I'm just like, any way that people are treating him, he has earned. I'm not sorry. And I am at this point where I'm like, I might, if he did release the book at this point, just be like, yeah, we'll be reading it soon, and then wait 14 years. And then just be like, oh, I said soon. I never promised anything. I'm better than him for that anyway.
Let that shit take 15 years to hit the bestsellers list. Just like everybody just agrees. We all just agree.
Yep.
Nobody buys it. Just let that shit sit on the fucking shelf. Just fuck you.
It'd be sort of interesting to do a thing where, remember with Miles when he stopped watching the show, and then we would do the quiz where he had to guess what happened. We could do that with the book and just be like, so which one of these things do you think occurred?
I want to get an order of protection against this man so bad. I just like his insistence on keeping us abreast of how little he's doing is such a specific type of antagonism. It's like people all were referring to it as trolling all the time, but it's like it's on a different level than just trolling. He's not trolling us anymore. This is an abusive relationship that we find ourselves in with George Martin at this point.
I think
and
so.
I, for one,
I
want my freedom. I'm about to like pack a bag and scamper off in the middle of the night for freedom, because this is no way to live. And I can't believe I agreed to read these damn books. I really can't believe it.
Well, you didn't know that there was 2 to go, so I remember when you figured out that there were still 2 and not just the one, and how mad you were. That was
the way I was absolutely certain we were just waiting on one book. Because people were just like, "Where's the book, George? Where's the book, George?" Nobody was saying, "Where are the books, George?"
Because we were trying to keep our expectations modest. We weren't trying to,
What you did was mislead a bunch of innocent people like me.
True. That's our bad. Anyway, all right. So yeah, the first thing that I want to talk about before we even get into like going beat by beat on the plot is I just want to talk out of the gate about the letter from the bastard of the Dreadfort. I just want to jump ahead to this because I think this is one of the most metal letters in the series. Your false king is dead, bastard. He and all his host were smashed in 7 days of battle. I have his magic sword. Tell his red whore. Your false king's friends are dead, their heads upon the walls of Winterfell. Come see them, bastard. Your false king lied, and so did you. You told the world you burned the king beyond the wall. Instead, you sent him to Winterfell to steal my bride from me. I will have my bride back. If you want Mance Rayder back, come and get him. I have him in a cage for all the North to see, proof of your lies. The cage is cold, but I have made him a warm cloak from the skins of the 6 whores who came with him to Winterfell. I want my bride back. I want the false king's queen. I want his daughter and his red witch. I want his wildling princess. I want his little prince, the wildling babe. And I want my reek. Send them to me, bastard, and I will not trouble you or your black crows. Keep them from me, and I will cut out your bastard's heart and eat it. Signed, Ramsay Bolton, true-born Lord of Winterfell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ramsay's scary as shit.
Yeah, this dude, he's just, I mean, the Ramsay in the show was scary, don't get me wrong, but he's just got a sort of menace that the other one didn't quite have. He was so gleeful. In a way that's not less threatening, but it feels somehow like it's at least amusing. Yeah, disarming is a good word. Yeah, and this guy, there's just a real like, no, something's wrong with him. This is a man you don't want to be around. Like that any second, who knows what he's. There was something almost predictable about the one in the show that you knew the kinds of things that would set him off. And this guy, it just feels like you don't the same way. He is so like, there's almost a sense of him really not understanding himself why he gets upset about the things that he does. I don't know. I really do think that he is extremely frightening.
This there's the way in which this is written, this letter is written, it's very matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of like extraneous flowery bullshit. There's not it's a very threatening letter that only has like one threat in it.
Yeah. True.
You know how some people would just be like, and I'll, and I'm going to do this, and then I'll do that, and then, then I'm going to hang you upside down, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's none of this. I'm going to give you some facts. The facts are King is dead. King's friends are dead. In fact, he keeps calling Jon Snow bastard too, while he is trueborn Lord of
Literally.
Winterfell. Listen, the fucking
It is hilarious.
The shade of it all. But it's all very matter of fact, just stating out these are the circumstances in which we find ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I need you to do to make it right. And this is what's going to happen if you don't. You know what I mean? Like, is someone who spends a lot of her working time going back and forth and via email, this is the kind of email you want. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh my God. Now the question is, do you believe that what he wrote is factually true?
I don't.
That's
I don't
the question, right?
I don't believe it. I don't know exactly which parts to. All right, because I was desperately trying to remember the last time we were anywhere near anybody, and that was in Asha's POV while she's a prisoner, hostage, whatever, of Stannis, and and her two men show up with Reek and the girl.
Excuse me, Theon.
I'm sorry. And the girl in the just dumps them out in front of her.
Mm.
So they have gotten away because Ramsay is saying he wants them back. So we know that they've gotten away. But does Stannis really go out like this? That's what I find hard to believe. And I don't even know, like, if I'm like, Stannis was struggling. They were trapped in a storm. He wasn't in his strongest position that he's ever been in. Ramsay does have, lots of swords at his beck and call. So it's not that I think that Ramsay couldn't have taken Stannis. It just, do I believe that's what happened? I don't.
For me, it's like, how could he have taken Stannis and not gotten his bride back?
Mm-hmm. Like, how did they get away?
Yeah, like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Or Reek, like, he's writing as if he believes Jon has them, and there's really not a reason to think that. It's like he's kind of flailing to me, Well, I don't know.
I think that if he doesn't know, like, if Ramsay really doesn't know where they are, if he had to look at a map and try to figure out where would they be going, the odds are they would be going to the wall. If they're at Winterfell and they need to flee, where can they go for safety? Turn around and try to go back south through all of the bullshit that would mean, or just make a break for it to the wall. That doesn't seem too outlandish to wager a guess on. Mm-hmm. And he's asking for Theon, the bride, back. So that's just two people that got away. And so say it's not just them though. Say it's like Asha's involved. Asha gets away. Maybe like the two men that came, two of Asha's men. So it's like a small party of people to get out of Winterfell in the confusion of a battle.
Right. That
doesn't seem to me to be quite a stretch either. If they just decided to get the fuck out of Dodge while all this intense fighting was going on. And we know Asha had like sort of like not free reign because she always had the she-bear sort of guarding her. Mm-hmm. But if battle is breaking out, the she-bear is like,
I think they give her a sword. Exactly.
Yeah. So in my mind, it's not unreasonable that they could take advantage of the confusion of a assault, and they would have been taken by surprise by Ramsay's men, I'm guessing. And they get out, and Ramsay is just sort of throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. Mm-hmm. So if we were to get a chapter, which I don't know how much is left in this book, it's not much, and I know a lot of what's in my hardcover, what's in my paperback is ancillary shit. Mm-hmm. So it looks to me, if I'm holding it in my hands, it looks like there's 100 pages left.
But I know no more Jon chapters at the very least.
Okay, so like we could get like a if we were to get like one more chapter from Theon and he were to tell me he was on his way to the wall, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense that you would head there. It would suck though because Jon's dead. But
Yeah.
but that's at the end of the chapter. I guess we need to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, so let them die, said Queen Selyse. It was the answer that Jon Snow had expected. This queen never fails to disappoint. Somehow, that did not soften the blow. Jon, bud, I'm so sorry. This woman is such a cunt. She really is. I really fucking hate her. So
the way they call her Queen Beard and talk about her mustache.
I swear to God. It's like, I don't want to be making fun of women for their appearance in general, but when it's somebody that I just don't like in another sense, I do relax my rules. I won't pretend I'm better than that. I'm not most of the time. So yeah, the talk here is about whether or not to go to Hardhome, and basically her assessment, which I actually can understand in the most practical, terrible sense.
Yes.
Is these people are going to need food that we don't have. They're going to be people who can't fight, and we need fighters. Why bother?
The
like,
people,
literally, for what reason would we help them? They can't do anything for us.
That we would risk sacrificing to save them. What it would cost to make this trip to save them in supplies, manpower, food. The scales are really, really unbalanced. And like, I hate to say it, but I think I also agree that this is like, but it's tough because we know that Jon's thinking is not just about saving people's lives, though it is, but he's also thinking about like a huge army of undead that we will have to deal with in the future if we don't handle the situation now. But man, his ships did not make it.
Yeah. And
I mean, he risked a lot and not bartered, but what do you call it? Borrowed like a bunch of fucking money to be able to like buy these ships to send them on this quest. And I mean, you gave it like your very, very best.
Yeah.
Maybe we just shore up the people that we have and make sure they're taken care of and get them strong and keep them fed and keep them housed so that when the army of the dead does come, you have people there to stand against them. As opposed to like just sacrificing over and over and over the little bit of resources that you have at your disposal as it is.
It's such a tough call. It really is, because like you said, the army of the dead, like that is very real. It's the sort of thing where I feel that we would have a better like grasp if we knew the numbers a little bit more specifically.
Just talking about the thousands.
You know, like, yeah, it just feels to me like it doesn't seem worth it. But if there's enough people, it may be. I don't know. But yeah, this whole thing is like comes down to her saying, well, we aren't going to fucking help. And Jon being like, all right, bet, I guess I'll take care of it myself. And her being like, oh, okay. So you're just going to do whatever the fuck you want as usual, because you don't have a lick of sense. So I guess I'll just sit here and wait for my husband to get home, because he is going to be so mad at you and you're going to be in so much trouble. Just wait.
Just wait till your father gets home.
Yep.
The fact that he doesn't tell her about this letter before he fucking reads it out to a crowd of men in the hall, I was like, oh my God.
It is quite disrespectful, honestly.
And he's just like, shit, I probably should have told her before I did this. But also, he does not like her very much, and that's why he didn't fucking think of her, because, you know, fuck her.
Yep.
And that's, you know, and I don't think he would ever admit to it being like fuck her, but we all know that's exactly what this was.
100%. Yeah. It's the sort of thing too that like the fact like he has to just believe it, right? Like we're working with the information of the Asha chapter, which he does not have. Mm-hmm. So he just believes this and is planning on using Night's Watch men, which he sort of rationalizes to himself. I'm not making them break their oaths. They're volunteering, which I'm sort of like, I mean, I guess, Jon, you don't usually seem like the type to work inside of these technicalities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's getting better and better at it, though.
You know,
each time he pushes a little bit closer to that line. You know, when he's dealing with Stannis, when he's dealing with the Iron Bank, when he's making these decisions, he keeps inching closer and closer and closer. And then turns around and kind of has to lie to himself, like you say, to justify the fact that he's going to meet this man and he's going outside to meet this man to see what's up.
Yep.
and says like to the crowd of the guys in the hall, he's like, this dude said he was threatening my life. That can't go unanswered.
It can.
It sure can. it most certainly can.
The irony too of being like, they threatened my life, steps outside and gets stabbed by his own men. How embarrassing.
And, the other thing about Ramsay's letter that Jon mentions when he's talking about like how true or it may or may not be is that Ramsay knows that it's Mance.
Yes, that's true. That information gives a lot of credence to everything else.
And like, I don't see Mance giving that up. So I guess somebody else gave him up. Or maybe somebody recognized them. I don't know. I'm really curious, like how that came to be. You know, like how did Ramsay find out who he really was dealing with?
I wonder if it was one of the women.
One of the women. I mean, I hate to like lean on that. Like, it probably makes the most sense, but there was a part of me that just didn't want to do it was one of the women that broke, and that's who told. You know.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, you know, I mean, these were some tough broads, but
it could also have just been Mance Rayder being like, what harm does it do if he knows who I am? I'll just fucking tell him.
You think Mance wouldn't understand the damage that would do if the lie became known?
I don't know. I'm not sure it matters at this point.
To the story overall, to Mance.
To Mance, or like the damage that would be done now that Mance is caught. Like, what will it get worse? Is that worse? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
It would show that Jon, like he says, it would show that Jon Snow is a liar, which seems bad for Jon.
I don't know if people would know that Jon knew. It's interesting, though, that you say this because, like, Jon doesn't hesitate to read the letter in front of everybody. I'm assuming he read that part, too.
That's a really good fucking question, because you know what? There doesn't seem to be any... he says, what Tormund is like, what is that part about Mance has him in a cage? How? When hundreds saw your red witch burn that man. So Jon does read that part.
Yeah.
And everybody is just like, well, Ramsay's talking nonsense. That doesn't make any sense at all.
It's sort of weird that he would read that out and give it away when he's asking for swords, and that people would be like, okay, this is clearly true, and he does need our help, because that would make a lot of people think that this was bullshit, I would assume.
I would, yeah. And Jon doesn't fucking say anything.
No.
He lets Tormund ask that question and answer it, and then Jon almost blurts out that was Rattleshirt.
Because he's a fucking goof.
But Tormund is just like, it might all be lies, like, because this part's a lie. But then if it's all lies, why is Jon about to ride down there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because this man threatened you. That's what you're saying.
That's not enough.
Doesn't seem like it.
I don't like it. I don't feel like this holds together.
The more we talk about it, the more it falls apart.
Well, oh my God, you guys. So I posted on the old, what do you call it? The page. Yeah. The pictures
Instagram
of Tim Curry with the grin on his face, and it says patch face just before he interrupts a conversation to say the most cryptic, unsettling shit.
Fucking patch face.
And patch face in the midst of this conversation is just dancing around when they're talking about, like, how are we even going to get there in time? He's like, oh, we'll ride on, like, mermaids. And, like, people are laughing at the things that he says. Why? Why do you people laugh at this? This is a demon. Clearly. How do you find this funny? Oh my God. He is so... It's even if he wasn't as unsettling as he is, it's not actually funny. It's like they're in the middle of a very serious conversation and he's interrupting to be fucking whimsical. Like, this isn't the time, man. Read the room.
I don't think that someone in Patchface's position is has a capability to read the room.
Maybe. It's just very...
It's the fucking bells that get me every time.
And this is the shit that I'm really, like, I point to things like this when I talk about the show missing some opportunities to do something genuinely freaky. There's no patch face. How upsetting could they have made this? Like, there is so much potential here.
They would have gotten it so wrong.
They would have fucked it up.
They would have made it so ridiculous. Yeah, we would have all been groaning and rolling our eyes so hard, even harder than, like, when we're reading it. It would have been a fucking shit show.
And the thing that, like, a lot of people have said that I think is fundamentally the truth is D&D were embarrassed that they were doing a fantasy show. And so
yeah, this keeps coming up. Yeah,
they just, like, took all of those sorts of weirdo elements out of it. And it really loses something for that. It really does to me. Like, there's just an atmosphere in the books that the show doesn't have. And
remember all that dick sucking they did when the show first came out? All the interviews with George Martin and the D&Ds and how they met, and, you know, were like, it was like catching lightning in a bottle, and they had to convince him to let them do it, and they knew they had to tell the story, you know, and just like on and on and on and on. These motherfuckers didn't even like these books. They probably didn't even read all of them.
They definitely read The Red Wedding and stopped. That's my opinion. Is like they got to that part and they stopped reading. They clearly liked the shock value of that, like, story beat more than they actually understood the need for that story beat, and they did one of those edgelord takeaways where the series is so good because everybody is on the chopping block. And it's like, well, I mean, that's part of it, but also, let's be real, later on a lot of people turn out to not be dead that we thought were dead. So he does pull his punches eventually, you know. But anyway, so yeah. I do not like him.
Under the sea, men marry fishes. Why are we doing this, patch face?
I feel like, I wonder what it's like to audition fools for the court.
Oh my God.
You know, like, I would love to see a jester that just bombs.
Is it like fucking those American Idol auditions?
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't know. I just really think that would be kind of funny to watch.
Is there one guy that's so bad that he goes, like, viral? like Westeros, like Westeros version of going viral. Like there's stories and songs about how bad that one jester was.
Oh God, I love that idea though. So let's see. Okay. So sorry. When I started the episode recording, Austin, normally he leaves the notes in this certain particular app, and they weren't there. And I know that he had written them because he mentioned writing them on the Discord. So I just messaged him and he was like, oh, it didn't save. Hold on. So he posted it while we were waiting because he is incredibly alert. Thank you, Austin. Mm-hmm. And he is mentioning that the letter from Ramsay, I had forgotten this, is called the pink letter because of the Bolton colors. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some question whether Ramsay sent this letter. We know Stannis is still snowbound, and if he had been defeated, Ramsay would have Reek and Sansa. And some of these details, like Val and Mance's son, would Mance reveal under torture or Ramsay ask about? One of the more popular theories is that the letter was written by Mance to trick Jon into doing what he does. People note that the phrases false king and black crows are a wildling way of speaking. I don't buy it.
I'm trying to think, like, why? Just as revenge?
Maybe he knows that things are like fucking dire. And there's like only one way to mobilize him in that direction. And I don't know, because like, yeah, just revenge, that doesn't feel like enough to me.
Interesting.
I don't know. What do you think?
About Mance sending the letter?
Yeah.
I mean, it would answer the questions, like Austin has the same questions that we discussed, like, you know, how would he find out, Ramsay find out that that's Mance and have this information about the women. But I don't think that Mance sent this letter. It doesn't make a lot of sense. If Mance and Theon and Asha and the girl, what's her name? Jane?
Yeah.
The fake
Jane Poole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if they were going to, it seems like getting Jon involved lessens their chances of survival. Like they could just steal away in the night. Like, why would you? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me for it to be Mance.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the notes here. Fucking AI. Yes, Mance Rayder is believed to have written the pink letter in A Song of Ice and Fire. That's a very declarative statement, AI. Mm-hmm. You, I don't know. A lot of people, I'm looking at a Reddit post, and this dude is like, yeah, no, I definitely think that it's fucking Ramsay, not Mance. But, I don't know. I'm curious about it. I wish that I understood better what the, like, motivation would have been here.
And not only the motivation, but what does Mance, like, by bringing Jon Snow down to meet him in the field, expecting to meet Ramsay in the field, what's he going to find if Ramsay didn't write this letter? He's just going to find Stannis.
So maybe he's doing this because he's like, Stannis needs help so badly that if I lure Jon out here, at least this whole thing won't be totally lost. Perhaps. Like, otherwise, yeah. Stannis is just completely stuck here holding his dick in his hand.
Let's see. And Stannis is not actually at Winterfell yet, right? He's
like
hunkered
really
down
close,
right outside of Winterfell.
Yeah.
Ramsay currently is still holding Winterfell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. This being like a subterfuge to get Jon to come show up as backup for Stannis. if that were the case, then you would have Stannis coming to Winterfell from, I'm assuming, the south, and then Jon coming at Winterfell from the north. And we know that in the Battle of the Bastards episode, which I guess clearly is off book completely because that's not happening. Maybe that was because in the show it's the Eyrie that show up, and that's how Jon is able to eventually. So it takes two armies to beat Ramsay, is what I'm saying. So if this is like some sort of way to trick Jon into showing up to battle Ramsay alongside Stannis, I mean, I guess, but it just does not hold a lot of water for me.
Yeah, I don't really understand. And I may not understand it because I'm not like seeing some of the details that would make this make sense. So, you know, full disclosure, I'm not trying to say that this is like a bad theory. I'm just saying that I don't really get where the theory comes from, why people think that he would even want to do this.
It's interesting about the language, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting point. I don't know. I mean, I can't give you the name of a character or an instance when it's happened, but somehow, like, I feel like other people have talked about the Night's Watch as being crows, and the thing about false kings also doesn't seem like it's only wildlings that use that, but it's been so many books and so many characters. I really don't know. And, you know, I really don't know if I'm confusing characters or, you know, confusing some show dialogue. But those, you know, are the wildlings the only ones that call them crows?
That's the thing. Well, crows, no, but black crows is apparently like almost all wildlings. I'm looking at this Reddit post that gives a bunch of examples of this.
And that's what everybody's going back to.
Your false king, I will have my bride back. I'm seeing them quote the thing. Mance knows everything that is written in this letter, and what he doesn't could have easily been learned by his spear wives. Being the bard of Winterfell, he probably had a lot of time to get to know Ramsay's temperament. It would be kind of easy for him to get the paper, wax, and raven. So he's obviously able to. He lacks a motive, and here's when things start getting big. Mance knows Jon, and he writes the letter to have him go help, quote, Arya. But Jon lacks the numbers unless he uses his free folk, who are eager to help him. What I'm trying to say is that if Jon had gone south with the free folk captains, he would have been betrayed anyway. Outside Winterfell's walls, they would have found Mance, who would have then commanded his free folk to conquer Winterfell with an unexpected attack, while a great part of the Bolton and Friends army would be fighting Stannis. Jon would be his hostage, and the King Beyond the Wall would have conquered Winterfell for the first time ever. The reason why Mance actually saves Arya is to anger Ramsay, so he ends up attacking Stannis. His plan went wrong because he didn't expect the For the Watch moment, but it is still possible that amidst the chaos, the free folk march south anyway.
Interesting.
I guess. I don't know. That's just not... I don't get that vibe from Mance. That he's like eager to try, because they have seen the fucking walkers, man. I don't know. I want to capture Winterfell. Like,
I want to finally capture Winterfell, so I can say that, you know, I'm the first one, the king behind the wall or beyond the wall, to march south and capture the hold fast of the wardens of the north.
Unless it's supposed to be that, like, I think that this is going to be crucial to beating the walkers, and so I'm taking it because it's like strategically valuable to the survival of mankind. But I don't know. It's just not really hitting for me.
Yeah. But interesting theory, Austin. Thank you for sharing it. Did you know about that theory?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I'm looking at some other stuff as well to see if there are like some further evidence. Okay, so this person is like, so it's not Ramsay because there is no seal, just a smear of wax, and there's no skin or evidence that it's been written in blood. The threats in the letter don't match his MO, like heads on spikes. Language used is not consistent to any one person, suggesting whomever wrote it was intentionally trying to sound like Ramsay. I don't know that that's even like, that doesn't feel like an argument. Jon is now coming to Winterfell with an army of wildlings to kill Ramsay. Hard to view this as a positive result for Ramsay if he was the author. I mean, that's what Ramsay wants, though, is because he believes that he's in a position of total strength and the Snow is killing everybody. So totally disagree with that assertion. And the entire letter eloquently parallels Stannis' burning of Mance at the wall. Ramsay has no reason to know all this or write a letter that mirrors it. I don't get what that even means. That mirrors it?
Maybe it just means that it's telling the story. Like, why would he? Is he trying to say why would he tell the story of how you killed Mance Rayder, but you didn't really kill him?
I don't know. I feel like this is Ramsay trying to flush Jon out and get him in a position of weakness because he knows that the winter is like so brutal that he could get Jon out here just basically on a suicide mission. And once the actual heir to Winterfell is gone, like alleged heir, even if he is a bastard, you have really completely eradicated the Starks. Other than Arya, allegedly. Which they have the wrong one.
Also, didn't this the guy read the letter before he brought it to Jon? So the seal would be broken.
That I don't remember exactly.
The guy shows up. Clytus brought him a letter. He was trembling. I think it's sufficient. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. He says the old steward was trembling, his face pale as the snow. I am being foolish, Lord Commander, but this letter frightens me. See here? And then, yeah. So I don't know if it was open, and he says, he's like, see,
no, it says next he cracked the seal, flattened the parchment, and read.
That's it.
So it wasn't, no, it was just...
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why isn't he using a seal? Maybe he doesn't have it. Maybe Ramsay doesn't have a seal.
Because he's not like Trueborn. That would actually be kind of hilarious.
It hasn't come yet.
His dad is like, yeah. No, you'll definitely get it once, I get some of the paperwork, the adoption paperwork settled. You will definitely be getting your own copy. I swear.
Poor Ramsay.
No, ma'am. No, you did not just say poor Ramsay.
He's out here just sending threatening letters with just a glob of wax. That's not distinguished. Anytime someone comes in the mail, people are like, oh, here go this motherfucker again. this no still having asshole. What does he want now?
All right, so we have to go back again. Eventually, like, he leaves and comes across Lady Melisandre, and she's like, where's your dire wolf? And he says, in my chambers, because he scares the princess, so the queen doesn't let him around her. And he mentions something about Baroque and his boar, and how, for whatever reason, Ghost seems intent on killing this skin changer's fucking boar, and he doesn't want to have any trouble, so he is keeping them away from one another. And Melisandre is like, Baroque is not something that you need to be worrying about. You have got some other bigger problems. And she also says that Queen Selyse is correct in saying that they should let these people die.
Mm-hmm. She tells them, your ships are gone, all of them. No man is coming back. I've seen this shit in my fires.
Mm-hmm.
And Jon is like, your fires are not reliable, ma'am. have you not been reading the same book we've all been reading?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I have made mistakes and I admitted to my mistakes. And he just throws back to her face, a gray girl on a dying horse, daggers in the dark, a promised prince born in smoke and salt. It all seems to me that you make nothing but mistakes. Where is Stannis? What about Rattleshirt and his spear wives? Where is my sister? And she says, all your questions shall be answered. Look to the skies. And then when you have your answers, go ahead and give me a call. And then like a page later, we get a raven.
Indeed we do. So, all right. There's also the moment where he goes to see like his men. He says, shouldn't you be inside out of the wind? That'd be sweet, my lord, said Fulk the Flea, but your wolf's in no mood for company today. Mully agreed. He tried to take a bite out of me, he did. Ghost? Jon was shocked. Unless your lordship has some other white wolf. I have never seen him like this, my lord. All wild-like, I mean. And Jon is assuming that he is, reacting to the smell of this boar. But yeah. I believe he is reacting to imminent threat.
I think so. I think that that is exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And for reasons, Jon just has got entirely too much on his plate, or this letter he hasn't even gotten a letter yet. He's just not on his game, because normally he's much more in tune with ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess there's just so much going on and he's keeping him locked up and he's not spending as much time with him. I don't know, but you need to listen to your direwolf. I mean, what's the point of having one?
I can't help but like, it's just sort of interesting to me, the parallels always in these stories with when people sort of set aside their animals,
mm-hmm.
and how it often presages that like some shit is going to be going very, very badly wrong for them shortly.
Yep.
And in most cases, I feel frustrated because I'm like, I don't get why you don't see what's right in front of your face. But honestly, Jon's is like the one circumstance that I kind of feel like I get why he has the concerns that he does and puts Ghost away. Like,
well, he's trying to manage so many different sects of people.
Exactly.
And to avoid any potential upset, he's willing to put Ghost aside because he's got this real big picture view of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is big picture. So he's missing these small details, like the fact that these men are about to murder you.
Details like that.
And I wanted to mention, just because we didn't talk about it, it's not like super important to the plot, but it's just really funny to me that Celise has named somebody King Beyond the Wall, and it's some guy named Garrett.
Oh my god. She's named him, and she's also just like, and I have decided who Val is going to marry. And Jon is like, oh, really? Have you talked to her about that yet? And she's like, no, she doesn't need to know about anything. It's fine.
She's arranged like 6 marriages for all of her knights to have have their pick of women. And name this guy who I don't think I have ever even heard of, who supposedly can trace his lineage back to the last kings. And then when Tormund finds out, I think it's Tormund, or maybe just Jon thinking to himself, but I want to say it's Tormund, being like, that he's like not a great grandson, he's like a nephew of somebody's cousin.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if he fucking were, nobody would give a shit, because that's not the kind of thing that is important to them anyway. And she just doesn't want to hear it. She has her understanding about the way things work.
She's going to bend reality to reflect back to her the way that the world is structured. And she doesn't give a fuck what she has to do or what kind of lies she has to tell herself in order to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that because I thought that was really funny. And
Yeah,
then
thank
the
you.
description of him being all cleaned up, and John is like, "You could be in King's Landing."
He's wearing someone like Stannis's old clothes.
Old
I don't know
clothes.
why, but that is just really like something about that feels
Something
very
about that-
extra.
It feels to me like if this man walked out of Salisa's chambers and presented himself to the wildlings as their new king, it would be like a collective, man, get the fuck out of here. Like, I just feel like they would, especially if he's wearing Stannis' old clothes, like they would mock him mercilessly, I think. Which is probably why he's spending all his time with Salisa in her tower and not downstairs with everybody else.
All right, so let's see. Oh, that's right. And when he says, I want all leading men in the shield hall when the evening watch begins. Tormund should be back by then. Where can I find Torrig? With the little monster like as not. He's taken a liking to one of them milkmaids, I hear. He has taken a liking to Val. Her sister was a queen. Why not her? Tormund had once thought to make himself king beyond the wall before Mance had bested him. Torrig the Tall might well be dreaming the same dream. Better him than Garrick Kingsblood. Let them be, said Jon. I can speak with Torrig later. So, let's see. Jon settled Stone Door on Sorin Shieldbreaker. Yarwick complained it was too isolated. How could they know what mischief Sorin might get up to off in those hills? When he conferred Oakenshield on Tormund Giantsbane and Queensgate on Morna Whitemask, Marsh pointed out that Castle Black would now have foes on either side, who could easily cut them off from the rest of the wall. As for Barak, Othel Yarwick claimed the north of Stone Door were full of wild boars. Who was to say the skin changer would not make his own pig army? I am so sorry. But that is hilarious. A boar army. I mean, that sounds formidable. Those things are no joke.
Ask Robert.
They're like the size of the Toyota Corolla, some of them. So, yeah, I don't want to be fucking with that.
Isn't this also when Jon thinks to himself that, like, these guys that are my advisors, they're all useless. They never have anything fucking helpful to say.
Mm-hmm.
All they do is nag. They never have anything positive to offer. Yeah. And he's like, where's my Maester Aemon? And where's my Sam? And, where's my Mormont? Like, those were people to have. And it just made me so sad for him because he's got like so much on his plate and this really, really big ask from the universe, right? Mm-hmm. Save the world. This huge, huge, problem that he's trying to solve. And he doesn't have, like, his closest ally, real talk, is Tormund.
Yeah.
Like the person who's the most honest with him and the most reliable up to this point, who does what the fuck they say they're going to do and tells him straight to his face what the deal is Tormund. Everybody, which we find out at the end of this chapter, everybody else is just like not here for Jon Snow. Yeah. He is so alone in this situation, and it's really, really sad.
So Jon asked their views on which of the remaining wildling chiefs and warlords might be best suited to hold Hoarfrost Hill and Rhymegate. We have Brog, Gavin the Traitor, the Great Walrus, and which of these? None, Bowen Marsh had said. I know all these men by their deeds. We should be fitting them for nooses, not giving them our castles. Aye, Othel Yarwick had agreed. Bad and worst makes a beggar's choice. My lord had as well present us with a pack of wolves and ask which we'd like to tear our throats out. So then he brings them the hard home, and of course they're all just like, yeah, let them die. That's it. And this... Yeah,
like the wildlings care so much, send them. Send them to go save the other wildlings if they care so much.
Damn, these guys are just... Yeah. But again, I will say that, like, the overall sentiment I can't help but feel is practical at this point. And I don't know if it's true that like all of his ships are gone, as Melisandre has said. If she is correct about that, I can't help but wonder if Hardhome in the show is just not how it's going to play out in the book. She said, hopefully.
Yeah. I can't even believe her. That was so innocent and pure.
I know. So, let's see. Winds from the south blowing the snow right up against the wall. How many men do we have in ice cells? 4 living men, 2 dead ones. The corpses. Jon had almost forgotten them. He'd hoped to learn something from the bodies they'd brought back, but the dead men had stubbornly remained dead. We need to dig those cells out. 10 stewards and 10 spades should do it, said Marsh. Use 112, as you command. So then there's Craig and Karstark, who has been taking his frozen shit and chucking it at everybody who tries to like come near him, which is hilarious. They hauled him out, still struggling, and dragged him through thigh-high snow to his new home. So he leaves the corpses to be entombed under the snow. And I really don't have a good feeling about that. There's a part of me that feels like this is going to come back to haunt him, that he just left him.
I'm curious why they haven't turned as of yet.
That's also a good question.
And I'm wondering, like, have we seen, we've seen people turn at Castle Black, right? Because Jon gets attacked or Mormont got attacked.
I can't remember if that guy turned after dying there or if he got brought down after having died above the wall.
So, yeah, I'm curious if there's some kind of, like, magic that's involved where, you know, you don't come back to life if you're, you know, like if you die within the, I don't want to say within the wall, behind the wall, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if there's some kind of, because we know that there's like magic imbued into the wall to keep out the things from the north, like the way that the fucking Uncle we can't come back through.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why they don't turn.
Huh. I don't remember. I don't know. Let me see if Austin's notes give us anything. Nope. Doesn't seem. So, yeah, curious, guys, if you all have theories about that. All right. So, King of the Wildlings, King of my hairy butt crack, more like Tormund roared.
It's Tormund's response to the news when he finds out about Garrick.
He has a regal look to him. He has a little red cock to go with all that red hair. That's what he has. Raymond Redbeard and his sons died at Long Lake thanks to your bloody Starks and the drunken giant, not the little brother. Ever wonder why they call him the Red Raven? First to fly the battle he was. 'Twas a song about it later. The singer had to find a rhyme for Craven, so...
My God.
Oh, that is hilarious. Because Red Raven sounds like a kind of boss name. And then to find out that that's what it is truly like... I'm imagining him starting at a new school and being like, my friends used to call me the Red Raven, and everybody being like, wow, really? That's dope. And then eventually one of his old classmates is like, he told you that was because of why? Oh. Uh-oh. Anyway.
No, go ahead.
If I gave you a son, the least you could do is give me the bloody bird. I would, said Jon, but like as not, you'd eat him. Tormund roared at that as well. Eat, said the raven darkly, flapping its black wings. Corn, corn, corn. I always have these moments of like, this raven knows things and is saying things. And then there are moments like this where I'm just like, I don't think this raven has any clue what is happening at all. This raven is meaningless.
He's just out here just saying things. He's like Patchface. He's just fucking... So this is when the letter comes, when he gets interrupted with the pink letter. And then he reads the letter to everybody. And I do want to say that when he calls the meeting to be in the Shields Hall,
Mm-hmm.
we get a little bit like a backstory of why it's called that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was really neat. It's and also just the fact that it used to just be like hundreds of shields on the wall, and now in Jon's day and age, there's like less than a dozen.
Everything is fucking janky now. Is the summary?
It really is.
We used to be great. Where are we now?
It is really such a sad state of affairs, but it makes sense when you think about like the rise of this dark magic or whatever is behind the White Walkers and the Whites and all that, them coming to power as the wall declines.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like it just works so well together. And of course, as a reader, you're just like, if y'all had just kept your fucking eye on the prize and kept the wall like, in good standing and provision the way it needed to be, maybe we wouldn't be having these fucking dead people coming back to life. Did you think about that? When you were being all stingy and only sending like thieves and rapists and shit?
Yep. And this is like, do you ever think about that with, like, again, making the comparison to global warming? We could have been doing stuff. We could have been doing all kinds of stuff, and it would have been fine, and it wouldn't have been difficult, and it probably would have made you money also.
Mm-hmm.
But
instead,
here we are. What do you mean to do now, Crow? Jon flexed the fingers of his sword hand. The Night's Watch takes no part. What you propose is nothing less than treason. He thought of Robb, with snowflakes melting in his hair. Kill the boy and let the man be born. He thought of Bran clambering up a tower wall agile as a monkey, of Rickon's breathless laughter, of Sansa brushing out Lady's coat and singing to herself. Arya, her hair tangled as a bird's nest. I think we had best change the plan, Jon Snow said. They talked for the best part of 2 hours. So, Jon grabs Ghost by the scruff of his neck, wrestles him back inside his quarters and leaves him there, and then goes to the Shield Hall. And we get the description, as you said, about the whole thing, and he steps up onto the platform, and he says, I summoned you to make plans for the relief of Hardhome, but something has happened. And he explains, I find I cannot go to Hardhome. The ranging will be led by Tormund, known to you all. I have promised him as many men as he requires. And where will you be, Lord Crow? Borok thundered. Hiding here in Castle Black with your white dog? No,
rude.
I ride south. Then Jon read them the letter Ramsay Snow had written. Every man began to shout at once. They leapt to their feet, shaking fists. So much for the calming power of comfortable benches. Swords were brandished, axes smashed against shields. Jon Snow looked to Tormund. The giant's bane sounded his horn once more, twice as long and twice as loud as the first time. The Night's Watch takes no part in the wars of the Seven Kingdoms. It is not for us to oppose the bastard of Bolton. This creature who makes cloaks from the skins of women has sworn to cut my heart out, and I mean to make him answer for those words. But I will not ask my brothers to forswear their vows. The Night's Watch will make for Hardhome. I ride to Winterfell alone. Unless, is there any man here who will come stand with me? So the question for me is, was the plan to stab Jon already in force? Or did this make it imperative that we do it immediately?
Well, it mentions that Yorick and Marsh are like slipping out while everybody else is roused up and, can't wait to like fucking go make Ramsay answer. A lot of the people standing up were wildlings. But Jon clocks Yorick and Marsh slipping out, and all their men leave. And
Yeah.
Jon is like, it doesn't matter. I don't even need them now. And I think he did not want them.
Mm-hmm.
No man could ever say, I made my brothers break their vows. I think that this put a motor on it.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that they had been meeting and planning. There's probably a lot of talk of like, how long will this last? How long will we let him do this to us? But maybe no date had been set. And then this comes up and they're like, this is the last straw. This is too much. You have had, you're too much. So, yeah.
I keep thinking too about the fact that like he made that deal with the Iron Bank of Bravos, but didn't want to tell any of them that's where the money was going to be coming from for things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a whole lot more other stuff happening, but I do feel like you should have shared at least that, Jon, because otherwise it sounds like you're just making promises out of thin air. And why should they believe you when you're not being forthcoming about the methods by which you're going to accomplish things?
Mm-hmm. And that's the inching and inching that I was talking about earlier that he's been doing. Like just like very, very tiny moves, right? Like a little bit at a time. But, this might be controversial.
Ooh.
Because I understand that Jon feels like he is being called to something much greater than himself, or even greater than the Night's Watch. He's being faced with like whether the dead will win and rule, or will man push them back. Mm-hmm. But Jon has been very, very lucky through a lot of his experiences. Mm-hmm. He's just been really lucky. That he should kind of probably already be dead.
Oh yeah,
couple times. In fact, couple times, right?
Yeah,
and he's been getting away with stuff for a long time, especially when you think about him being named commander. How much his men don't like him, how young he is, how much they don't trust him. The sending away of various factions of men who had been making life very difficult, but not like getting rid of all of them. And I'm not sure what a good job Jon Snow's been actually doing.
Yeah.
Like when you're in it and you're reading it, it feels very much like, oh, he's killing it. He's fucking doing all the things. But now as we wind down and you start looking back, you're just like, oh, those were some questionable choices you made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And why did you wait? You're doing what? Why would you do that? Why? And like you said, why wouldn't you tell them?
Yeah, it's like I feel like we tossed around the idea that maybe there's a rule that he's not supposed to take this kind of loan, but it's not mentioned. And so, if anybody has a good like solid reason why he wouldn't tell them, then I'm definitely interested to hear, but I'm not really sure what would make me feel as if that was a good decision. Yeah, I don't know. I also just, Tycho Nestoris as a character just also fascinates me. So part of me is like, I kind of want him in the story a bit more. And if talking about the loan to everybody keeps him around, but he's, especially because he's played by that dude in the show who played Mycroft Holmes in Sherlock. Do you remember that?
Oh, right. I remember us recording that and you talking about his little hat.
Indeed.
But the thing about the loan from the bank, what he ends up borrowing the money for is to shore up this hard home rescue. Is the main thing, right?
It's partially that and partially like building more glass gardens so that they can make food, like grow food through the winter. Okay. Like there was also like just some supplies, basic stuff.
Okay, good. Okay. Because part of me was wondering if maybe he felt the way about letting the men know that he went in debt once again, just monetary debt this time, but he's doing all of this shit for wildlings when we know that most of the Night's Watch don't fuck with them like that.
No, I don't think so.
But you reminded me that he actually used a lot of the resources for like infrastructure and to keep the men at the wall like fed and be able to, grow their own food and shore up their own resources. So that doesn't really hold. But that was my first thought, was just like, he's going to have to stand up and tell them he did yet another thing for the But yeah, so everybody's cheering.
And then there's the interruption of a scream from some man outside in mortal agony. And when we go out there, 1-1 is beating a man against the wall and ripping his limbs off. And it's not great press for the wildlings.
No, it does not look good.
Yeah.
1-1 has been attacked. It looks like, I can't tell if I misread this or not. Like, did they attack him first, or are the wounds the result of people trying to take him down once he's grabbing this man? And he has one of Salisa's men.
Yeah. Oh, God. I'm sorry. I'm just reading. One weg, one dar, one howled again and gave Sir Patrick's other arm a twist and pull. It tore loose from his shoulder with a spray of bright red blood. Couldn't they see the giant had been cut? Jon had to put an end to this or more men would die. They had no idea of 1-1's strength. A horn! I need a horn! He saw the glint of steel, turned toward it. No blades! He screamed. Wick, put that knife away, he meant to say. When Wick Whittlestick slashed at his throat, the word turned into a grunt. Jon twisted from the knife just enough so it barely grazed his skin. He cut me. When he put his hand to the side of his neck, blood welled between his fingers. Why? For the watch. Wick slashed at him again. This time Jon caught his wrist and bent his arm back until he dropped the dagger. The gangling steward backed away, his hands upraised, as if to say, not me, it was not me. Men were screaming. Jon reached for Longclaw, but his fingers had grown stiff and clumsy. Somehow he could not seem to get the sword free of its scabbard. And I was wondering if there was something on the blade, or if it was just an effect of blood loss.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing too. It was like he poisoned, but it could just be from the fucking slash.
The shock of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bowen Marsh stood before him, tears running down his cheeks. For the watch. He punched Jon in the belly. When he pulled his hand away, the dagger stayed where he had buried it. Jon fell to his knees. He found the dagger's hilt and wrenched it free. In the cold night air, the wound was smoking. Ghost, he whispered. Pain washed over him. Stick them with the pointy end. When the third dagger took him between the shoulder blades, he gave a grunt and fell face first into the snow. He never felt the fourth knife, only the cold.
I mean, shocking, but also not shocking.
Yeah. So I'm going to read you something here that Austin detailed for us, which I appreciate, even though I think it is so silly, but it's fine. This is not Austin being silly, it's George. Sir Patrick is killed by 1-1 in a series of events that is part of a bet George R.R. Martin lost. Sir Patrick of King's Mountain is named after a friend of Martin's, Patrick St. Denis. King's Mountain is a literal translation of his hometown, Montreal. St. Denis is a Dallas Cowboys fan, while Martin is a New York Giants fan. They made a bet that if the Cowboys did better than the Giants that year, Martin would write St. Denis into the story and kill him horribly. Therefore, Patrick, whose sigil is a blue star, like the Cowboys, is torn apart by a giant.
What is the point of writing?
Unserious.
If you can't write your friends in for things like this, I mean, what other reason is there?
I do have to write you in and do something. I'm gonna write you in and have you just like do some real wild shit to your boss. I have to come up with something.
You're gonna have me like George Costanza. You're gonna have me slip my boss a Mickey.
There you go. Something real, like, I shouldn't approve of this, but it is quite satisfying. So, people have also noted this might play into the prophecy that Jon is the chosen one. One of the prophecies of the prince that was promised is he will be born under a bleeding star. If Jon is resurrected in the courtyard, he will be reborn next to a blood-stained star sigil.
Mm-mm. I like the red comet better.
the tone that you had. Jon is killed by his brothers, and it is worth noting the differences between it here and in the show. Austen says, for one, this here is a culmination of so many bendings of the oath. We love Jon, but riding south with a wildling army to attack a lord is a big violation of the oath.
Mm-hmm.
2, Bowen March is crying as he stabs Jon, and it seems like a few others may be as well, a departure from the stone-faced angry men in the show. They hate they have to do this, but they must because he broke his vows. Also, unlike in the show, Alistair Thorne is not here and does not appear to be part of the mutiny. Yeah, they really villained up Alistair Thorne in a way that, even though he is an antagonist for sure, he isn't the way they have him in the show.
Yeah.
One of Jon... Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Keep reading and then we'll talk.
One of Jon's last thoughts is of Ghost. Throughout this book, we've heard about wargs on their deathbed going into their animals to live a second life. Most people believe that Jon will warg into Ghost as he's dying, and that will protect his mind when Melisandre resurrects his body. Some even wonder if while in Ghost, the three-eyed raven and Bran might make contact, and that will be where Jon learns about his parents. I was sort of wondering that myself, and I didn't realize that this was a main theory, although I should have done. But yeah, I was thinking about the fact that at some point Jon has to find out about this, and who is going to be able to tell him, because he has to, the destiny before him. I feel like he has to know about it. I don't know why I feel that way. It's certainly possible for you to write it that he doesn't know and he just carries things out. But I just feel like I don't know. There's something I just feel about him going forth with a different attitude once. And the thought that I had was potentially dying would leave him in a weird sort of limbo state where he could get this information some other way, but being in contact with the three-eyed raven makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I don't. When we start talking about I don't know if I believe that Jon has to know in order to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
With this so-called destiny, because for me it seems like he could, if Melisandre is going to bring him back to life, because she is starting to believe that he is the other one.
The other one.
What's her deal? There's, or am I confusing both myths? Is it one, the prince who was promised? Is that Melisandre's deal as well?
Mm-hmm. She thinks that's Stannis, or that's who she's thought this whole time.
And then, oh, you know what? I'm confusing the fucking Targaryen fucking prophecy, the song of the Song of Ice and Fire thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
The prophecy from House of the Dragon.
Yeah, and sort of part of this series as well.
Oh no,
right?
It definitely is. But yeah. I feel like that's the first place that we actually get how far back it goes. And it's the theory that Rhaegar had heard about it, and that was why he did a lot of the things that he did.
Right. So in my mind just now, I confused those two prophecies, because isn't there a there's like, is it Daenerys or is it Jon for the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy, which has a name that I just can't remember what they call that Messiah type figure that's going to put everything right. I forget what they call that person.
I'm gonna look it up, but continue.
And then there's the Prince Who Was Promised, which is the Red God prophecy that Melisandre thinks is Stannis, but is going to start thinking it might be Jon.
I'm trying to find the spot. Let's see. The prophecy. There's not. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I went to Reddit and somebody just wrote, well, basically, does anyone else think the Targaryen prophecy is a piece of shit invented at the last minute?
Well, now I feel
very funny.
I feel silly for even talking about it now. I feel like I've been firmly put in my place.
I disagree, and it seems like most of the comments very much disagree, but that was unexpected. I didn't think he was going to be coming out of the gate fucking swinging. Let's see. Our histories, they tell us that Aegon looked across the Blackwater from Dragonstone, saw a rich land ripe for capture, but ambition alone is not what drove him to conquest. It was a dream. And just as Daenerys foresaw the end of Valyria, Aegon foresaw the end of the world of men. 'Tis to begin with a terrible winter gusting out of the distant north. Aegon saw absolute darkness riding on those winds, and whatever dwells within will destroy the world of the living. This is from the Game of Thrones.fandom.com. So this is from the show, and I'm not sure if that's I'm just trying to find the actual text of it, and everything is like big talk about the prophecy, but nobody is just giving me like the bones of it.
Well, that was a lot of information that wasn't really the information that we wanted.
That's like so general that it's not feeling that helpful. And I'm getting like the answers that I'm getting are from a lot of show related sources as well. The thing from Westeros.org is giving me the Dreams and Prophecies like general page. And let's see, I'm going to click on the Azor Ahai. According to prophecy as written down in ancient books of Ashai from over 5,000 years ago, the legendary hero Azor Ahai is to be reborn as a champion sent by R'hllor. The prophecy claims Azor Ahai shall be born again amidst smoke and salt to wake dragons out of stone. This will occur after a long summer when an evil, cold darkness descends upon the world and the red star bleeds. It is said that wielding Lightbringer once again, Azor Ahai will stand against the others and deliver the world from darkness. The Red Priestess Melisandre uses the name Azor Ahai and the term the Prince That Was Promised interchangeably, although she tends to use Azor Ahai more often. So it makes sense that people are thinking that this is Daenerys because there was the Red Comet and she was born... that she woke dragons out of stone because the eggs everybody thought were inert. And I don't know about the smoke and salt. I guess the salt is the tears of her grief. And then let's see. I'm going down to Aegon, and Prince Darren claimed to consistently dreams of events that indeed came to pass. And I'm not going to read a bunch of this because some of it may kind of be like weirdly spoilery for future stuff in House of the Dragon. I'm not sure how much of it. Yeah, listen, I'm not finding like good text on this though.
So I just went to, because I had to be really careful with my Googling, right, for spoilers. Right. So I went to House of the Dragon because I've already seen that.
Sure.
And it says that the prophecy of Aegon's dream is also engraved onto the blade. From my blood comes the prince that was promised, and his song will be the song of ice and fire. So you telling me they both call it the same thing?
The prince that was promised is Azor Ahai, basically?
I guess so.
I mean, it makes sense because they're meant to have come, like, Ashai and Valyria are close to one another. And if Azor Ahai is a prophecy from Ashai, they are close to one another, aren't they? I'm going to look this up now, but I'm pretty sure. People listening are ready to kill us both.
I know they are.
Like, I'm sorry, everybody, you know, but we're doing our best to piece things together here. And all of these friggin' maps are just showing me Westeros. Everybody, please. There's more to this world. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they are just the same thing. I didn't really notice that. But you're right.
I get them confused all the time, and I think I get them confused because it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
but it's talked about like they're two separate Jon.
Right.
I'm
looking at these the maps, and there is a spot on here that's just called the Plains of Jogos Nye, and it's labeled East Mongolia. I think that somebody has left some of the old I think they've used a map of Europe, and they're trying to map Westeros onto
one of those.
Because Yiti has Pakistan and Afghanistan and China all contained in it. Karth has the Red Waste. Mereen is part of Egypt. Old Valyria is down near Italy. That's interesting. Okay, why not? Yeah, this is kind of funny, actually. I hadn't seen this before with people mapping it to the actual real map, but I don't know how I feel about that. I'm going to be honest, you guys.
I'm looking at the map. It's in the book to see how close Ashai is to Valyria. But I have Valyria map, but I don't see Ashai anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm having trouble locating also.
Yeah. All right. Girl,
yeah.
We have a whole other chapter to do.
Oh, here's Ashai. Oh, it's way over. It's not near Valyria like I thought. I don't believe.
Oh.
If this is correct. I think it is, though, because it's on Westeros.org page. So.
Oh, they're usually pretty good.
Yeah. And it's I'm going to send you the link to this because I think this should be just perfectly safe for you at this point. But it's all the way on the bottom right on this map at the very tip, and it's just labeled the Shadowlands. And I'm trying to find Valyria, and it's by the Gulf of Grief, sort of in the center. So Ashai and Valyria are not near each other at all. I'm super wrong about that. So the fact that they are both saying Prince that was promised, I think that has nothing to do with proximity. I think that has to do with the prophecy being the same prophecy.
I mean, that happens though with religions, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, so it's not like anything that would be unheard of or hard to believe. That's just a thing that we do is people migrate and take their traditions with them, and then they get mixed in with the local traditions, and then a whole new thing, or you pretend like you invented a whole new thing when really all you did was take looking at you, Catholicism. But all right. So, the Queen's Hand.
All right, yeah.
We're going to be really focused on this one, guys. We're going to get through this in an hour and 36 minutes.
Oh my god! And I finally found this. Maester Aemon mentions a bleeding star, smoke and saw, but he does not mention Azor Ahai. Archmaester Marwyn recalls, according to the prophecy, the prince would be born amidst salt and smoke beneath a bleeding star. When he was younger, Aemon thought Prince Rhaegar Targaryen was the prince who was promised, since the smoke would be from the fire at Summerhall and salt from the tears of those who cried there. Young Rhaegar agreed with Aemon he might be the prince that was promised. According to Arston Whitebeard, one day Rhaegar found something in his scrolls that changed him and he decided to become a knight. Later believed his infant son Aegon was the promised prince, since a comet was seen above King's Landing when the boy was born. And Aegon was killed by Sir Gregor Clegane, and he was a boy. The future King Aegon recalled King Aerys once read about the return of dragons in a prophecy. Maester Aemon believes the dragon must have 3 heads, although it is unknown if that is connected with the prince that was promised. So yeah, we're all over the place here. All right. Well, that was.
Are we all over the place, or is George Martin all over the place?
I don't know that he's all over the place, but he has definitely scattered clues all over the place, like bird seed. All right. So
bird seed is so generous.
You know,
you're gonna go a very different way with that. When you said scattered like bird,
I am a lady. I would never say such a thing. All right. So the Queen's Hand, poor Quentin takes 3 days to die from his horrible wounds sustained from being burnt alive by the dragon.
Yeah. That was it was harrowing.
Mm-hmm.
That Quentin chapter. Just strolling up the dragons, saying, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Really thinking that, like, well, heroes don't die in stories, and obviously I'm the hero, so it follows simply that, like, all right, Sansa, whatever you say. And the what's interesting here is that eventually, when Barristan goes and speaks to Quentin's friends, it's Archibald that is the smart one, more than Garrus Drinkwater, who I feel like Archie was not taken as seriously by Quentin.
Listen, even fucking Selmy is like, oh shit, maybe I got it backwards.
Yeah, it was interesting because it felt like that's a real moment of us understanding like how unreliable some people's points of view are. And so reading from Quentin's perspective, he was taking a lot of his advice from Drinkwater. And now it's sort of like maybe because he was a kid who wasn't handsome and popular and he just admired Garrus in a way that clouded his judgment about Garrus's overall intelligence or aptitude for this sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself as usual. So we have Missandei taking care of Quentin until he dies and then trying to be like, he's at peace. See, he smiles. Garrus would be like, how can you tell he doesn't have any lips? He's barely got a face.
Yeah, this is really like we find out that really she's the only one that's been able to tend to him because no one else can stand to look the sight of him.
Yeah,
like he is so mangled to be like disturbing to anyone who comes into the room. Selmy has put Quentin in Daenerys's bedroom in her bed and is telling himself, I don't think she would mind.
I love it. He's like, I may as well let him die in the bed he came all the way here to get into, which I was just like, you are genuinely being kind, but that felt shady as hell.
Yeah, a little bit. And he says, he's looking at the little boy, because Quentin's just a young man. And he's like, he should have stayed in Dorne. He should have stayed a frog. Not all men are meant to dance with dragons. And, I mean, yeah.
So he meets with the shave pate after the death and is just like, how is everything, how is it in the city? And the Sons of the Harpy are more active than ever. They have killed 29 people just this first night, and Barristan never expected it to like escalate that quickly and that badly, and he clearly is taken quite off guard by this.
Yeah, this is like the third day. Like the first night they killed like 2-3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Second night they killed like 9-10 people, and this is the third night, and they have jumped to fucking 30 people, and that is quite the escalation.
Yeah.
And poor Selmy is just like, oh, I knew that it was going to be bad, but this seems unreasonable.
And basically the shave pate is like, yeah, well, what the fuck did you expect? And also we have hostages that you're not going to do anything with. Yeah. So
Selmy's so tired of hearing about this.
Yeah, he's just like, we have been over this, dude, and you're not going to fucking kill them, okay? And this dude is like, you're just like an old lady. This is pathetic.
He says, you better figure out something because the council is getting restless.
Mm-hmm.
So you better hope Daenerys comes back if you're not going to fucking do anything. And so they make their way down to this council, and Belwas makes an appearance. Strong Belwas makes an appearance after, nearly almost dying on poison locust.
Mm-hmm.
And he is not looking great.
Nah, he lost a lot of weight real fast, so he's got that pouchy skin that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bless him.
So he has a Ozempic face.
It's fucked up.
I'm so sorry.
Oh God.
I'm sorry, y'all. My apologies. That was just rude. There's no reason for that. And I love it though, because Boaz is not like. First of all, first thing he does is ask for food.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I need where is my liver and onions? I'm not as strong as I was. I got to eat.
I love
but
it.
Then when they start planning, he's like, yeah, I'll just fight him. Like a second ago,
I love this. I want this kind of like, no, I'm not good as I was, but I'll tell you what, I could wipe the floor with that piece of shit no matter what state I am in. I'm alive, I win. Don't worry about it.
And so there's talk about like what are they going to do about the Dornish, the drink water and Archibald, and Selmy is just like, well, right now they're just prisoners and that's it. Don't worry about whatever else we're doing.
It's like, we should fucking kill them. They let dragons out. Like, that's pretty bad.
Someone is like, we should just open the pits again. And this is when they all start like, I'll fight him. No, I'll fight him. No, I'll fight him. God. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down.
I just keep like picturing Selmy just sitting there like with his head in his hands, occasionally like pinching between his brows.
Oh my God.
Being like, oh my God.
He's doing like calming breathing to himself. Mm-hmm. Like he's doing like the 4-4-4. He just trying to center himself.
Woosah.
And he is, and of course they're all asking about Daenerys, like when is Daenerys going to get back? And he has to just maintain this sort of air of certainty. She will be back when she gets back. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Like that's the answer to your question. Stop asking it. She'll be here when she's here. But then internally praying to God that she's actually still alive, like not letting himself even believe that she's possibly dead. Like he'll just be like, no, she's not.
Every time he starts to be like, yeah, I keep saying that, he starts to be like, yeah, I keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that. Mm-hmm, he has got to like psych himself up a few times in this chapter to just
to make it through.
Yeah.
And he's waiting on the Green Grace to come back because he has sent her to the Yunkai to try to make arrangements for their hostages. And the council is unimpressed.
Yeah.
First of all, they don't think that she can even accomplish this goal. Some of them are just like arrangements. What do you mean? Or I love it. It's italicized. What kind of arrangements are you talking about?
Barristan, and to every time people are like, "Your council" or "Your blank," and he's like, "It's not my it's not my," like he just he is doing things because he believes that is what Daenerys would want. But he really does not feel cut out for this job.
No, not at all. This is not like his. He's. I love this too because when he tells them about the arrangements, the deal is he's trying to like buy the hostages' freedom.
Right.
So he's offering them a bunch of gold, and it was Miss Sandy's idea because Selmy just doesn't even. Like, he's just out of his wheelhouse. And I love this moment where he acknowledges, he's thinking to himself, he would have never even thought of such a thing. In King's Landings, bribes had been Littlefinger's domain, while Lord Varys had the task of fostering division. So Selmy has history of being in the room for council meetings and listening and watching all the machinations and all that shit. But he's not actually somebody who does the things.
Right.
And now he's in this position as hand with a missing Daenerys and an imprisoned king of being basically like the ruler. He's like, what do they, when the hand is not hand regent, what do they call it when the hand is like, I know you can be a prince regent and a queen regent. I don't know what they call it when the hand is ruling in the king or queen's stead, but whatever Ned was doing, that's what Selmy is doing now. And this is not for him. And I love later on when it starts to be about, oh, it's going to be war. He's like, yeah, that I know how to do.
I'm trying to find the spot here. So let's see, you would break King Hisdar's peace. I would shatter it. We have built a beacon atop the pyramid where once the harpy stood. Dry wood soaked with oil, covered to keep the rain off. Should the hour come, and I pray that it does not, we will light that beacon. The flames will be your signal to pour out of the gates and attack. Every man of you will have a part to play, so every man must be in readiness at all times, day or night. We will destroy our foes or be destroyed ourselves. I have had some maps prepared to show the disposition of our foes, their camps and siege lines, their trebuchets. If we can break the slavers, their sellswords will abandon them. I know you will have concerns and questions. Voice them here. By the time we leave this table, all of us must be of a single mind with a single purpose.
Yeah, I love that. I love that when he says that, when they said you would break the peace, they had said, like, all right, what are you going to do when fucking Green Grace comes back and she's got nothing? Yeah. And he says fire and blood, but he says that shit softly, very soft. Like, he doesn't like, we're going to rain fire and blood. No.
He's like, unfortunately, we may have to deal with some fire. There will perhaps also be blood eventually. The forecast is calling for a 40% chance of blood. Scattered fires across the south.
But I love that it's written that way because it is important that we understand that he's not like itching to do this, and when he finally has to make this declaration that this is what we will do, it's like serious. It's not a moment of like bravado and it's well, then I guess, and it's like he's saying it not because it's what he really believes, but it's like you said before, it's what Dany would say.
Yeah, he's really trying to maintain distance. And a lot of people would be like, well, this isn't my council, or I don't want this. But they'd still be doing what they themselves think is like the best. And I wouldn't blame them for that. But it really does feel like he is trying as hard as he can to actually embody Daenerys while she's away.
Yeah.
Predict what she would actually want.
Yeah. But without like taking on, like you said, the idea that it's owed to him. It's his. Like Fire and Blood is not his.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't try to like make it his. He's just, you know what I mean? I don't know. I love this guy so much.
Agree. Yeah. And like you said, the whole thing, because like he's talking about we're going to make arrangements for each man's weight in gold. The wise masters don't need our gold. Their sellswords will want the gold, though. What are hostages to them? If the Yonkishmen refuse, it will drive a blade between them and their hirelings. It had been Missandei who suggested the ploy to him. He would never have thought of such a thing himself. And is just like, man, she's 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And she is just as smart as half the dudes at this table and wiser than every single one of them. And again, Barristan Selmy's judgment is judgment I trust. Mm-hmm, so if he's saying that, then yeah, Missandei, let's hope that she sticks around and continues to be great, because love her. They
did her so dirty in the show.
They did, though. They really did.
I was so upset about that. I was so heated.
The actress who played her they took her photo recently. She was at Carnival. Was wearing one of those fucking costumes.
Oh my God, I know. Was she like flawless? She was flawless, wasn't she?
Utterly flawless. She's like one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen.
It's ridiculous.
Like the nude scene that she did, I was just like, my mouth was hanging open. I was like, I don't see a single flaw. There's nothing. What? How?
It is just so unfair.
Yeah. It's
so unfair.
Although really I say it's unfair, I had my shot. What did I do with it? Nothing. That's what. I should have gone and been naked on HBO. That's what I should have done.
That's the way to look at it.
Preserved in amber. Yeah, that's what I should have done.
The lament of not enough sex tapes.
Literally. Look, I understand that like the focus that we have these days on everything being photoed and videoed is not healthy, but there is a part of me that is deeply jealous of all the evidence Zoomers are going to have of how hot they were once. Mm-hmm. I only have little scraps that I've managed to unearth over the years, and they're not the best quality photos, and
they really don't do it justice.
They don't though, because they were just taken with some fucking like disposable camera left on a prom table. So they discussed this for a while, and eventually they reached this point. As a slave in Yunkai, I helped my master bargain with the free companies and saw to the payment of their wages. I know sellswords, and I know that the Yunkai cannot pay them near enough to face Dragonflame. So I ask you, if the peace should fail and this battle should be joined, will the dragons come? Will they join the fight? And Barristan's like, well, I mean, they'll probably come. But I can't say that they will know whose side they are on. That's a whole other question.
He also is just like, it's doubtful.
Yep.
It's really, really doubtful.
The dragons will do what the dragons will do. Is his answer.
Listen, you can get away with that when you're answering about when Daenerys comes back, but at some point we have to draw a line, sir. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about dragons, I need specifics, please. For OSHA wants numbers. They want details. They
Where's the peer-reviewed report? So this is when he goes and sees Garrus and Archie. Let's see. I told him it was folly. I begged him to go home. Your bitch of a queen had no use for him. He crossed the world to offer her love and fealty, and she laughed in his face. She never laughed, said Selmy. If you knew her, you would know that. She spurned him. He offered her his heart, and she threw it back at him and went off to fuck her sellsword. And Barristan is just like, you better watch how the fuck you talk about my queen in front of me, sir. Mm-hmm. It is kind of funny though, because you just like showed up on the like eve of her wedding. Mm-hmm. So he really is acting like she just dismissed him completely out of hand. And while I do believe that Daenerys should have given this more thought and taken it seriously, and probably she would have if Quentin had looked different, which is a shame, but I'll say it. I also don't think it was as what's the word? There's like a pettiness to the way he is
Yeah.
describing it that I'm just like, come on.
And there's a callousness to it
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think is really warranted. I love that somebody just keeps saying he came too late. Like it was too late for this plan. And this guy Garrus, because Selmy is like, the death, excuse me, the death was his own doing and yours. And he's like, ours? What do you mean? How is it ours? And says, Quentin was our friend. He was a little bit of a fool, but all dreamers are fools. But you forgot he's our prince. We owed him our obedience. And somebody is like, oh shit, you know what? That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And he reflects to himself that he had spent the best part of his life obeying the commands of drunkards and madmen.
Yeah, there had been a point earlier where Barristan is thinking about how, like, no army could have kept me from killing Robert if I had been there to see the, like, children presented to him. And all I could think was, like, Barristan, you stood outside and listened to that king, like, fuck up his wife and rape her and injure her. And now you're going to be like, oh, well, but the killing of the children, I don't know, man. Like, if you believed that you owed your fealty to Robert, I don't know that you would have done anything. Maybe you would have quit, but is that even an option? I don't know. I just feel like he is talking a lot of talk there that I'm not sure I buy.
I like this idea of an older gentleman reflecting back on his career, which is a career of, like he says, obeying his king, whether or not that king deserved his obedience. And looking back on some of it with shame, which is what it kind of feels like this is a little moment of, like, I have fucking been obeying the commands of terrible people.
Yeah.
So I really got a lot of nerve sitting up here talking to these two knights about how them obeying him makes them complicit in his death.
Yeah.
Like I kind of got a lot of nerve. But he counters instead with that she needed swords, not hearts. And Garrus is like, well, he would have given her the spears of Dorne, but also he says is would that he had.
He should have brought them spears along with him. He left those spears at home because he thought he could just double back after he picked her up. But
yeah, and Selmy had really wanted Daenerys to consider.
Oh yeah,
Quentin.
He pushed her a lot.
He really did, and she just was not having it. And so Selmy's in like a weird position here where he can't, like, I guess he could, but he doesn't. Probably out of respect for Daenerys and his role as her Queen's Guard. He can't just be like, look, y'all, I tried so hard to fucking get her to see the light on this. She just could not be moved. But he can't really do that.
Yeah.
So what he does do is he says, okay, well, first of all, you're right. That was your prince. You had to, like, obey him. But he really did come too late. And this shit y'all was on, buying cell swords and letting dragons loose. The fuck were you thinking? That was like, you were not thinking at all. And Garrus is like, he did it for love. Somebody said, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, he was not here for love. He was here for duty, for honor, a thirst for glory. It was never love. He was here for dragons, not Daenerys. And Garrus wants to keep arguing, and finally Archibald is like, he's dead. And words won't fetch him back. So shut your bloody mouth before I stick my fist in it. And then turns to Selmy and is like, what do you mean to do with us? And I said, oh.
Yep.
Oh.
This is a man who's paying attention to the situation. I'm much more of the Garrus Drinkwater type, where I will stand there and argue all goddamn day, completely lose view of the objective. Nothing draws me in like a petty squabble. And Archibald is over here just being above all that. Appreciate you.
I recently discovered that I am much more of an Archibald than a Jarrus, or Garrus, however you say it. In a situation, and where I was just like, we just want the facts.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Just the facts. I'm not getting all emotional, not getting all upset. You keep saying the same thing. Should not answer any of my questions, though. And meanwhile, my drink water was about that life.
Yeah, I would definitely be the getting in the face a little bit. Just like, the fuck did you just say? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Are you an idiot? And you'd be hanging back like, how about you don't call this person and Tosh? Spit.
We haven't gotten anything yet. Wait, don't do it yet. Not yet. Not yet.
So yeah, this is when he says like, well, the Shade Paint wants to hang you because you killed fucking 4 of the Queen's men, the brazen beasts. And again, Garrus, well, we were just trying to, and again, Archie, he fucking knows, shut up. So if you were going to hang us, you'd have hanged us, but you're here chatting, so that's not it. So what's actually going to happen? I have more use for you alive than dead. Serve me, and afterward I will arrange a ship to take you back to Dorne and give you the Prince Quentin's bones to return to his Lord Father. Why is it always ships? Someone needs to take Quint home, though. What do you ask of us? Your swords. You have thousands of swords. The Queen's freedmen are as yet unblooded. The sellswords I do not trust. Unsullied are brave soldiers, but not warriors, not knights. What happened when you tried to take the dragons? Tell me. And so they give him the details on this, and eventually he... I love this so much. Garrus is like, the fucking sellswords all ran, and Archie is like, yeah, that's what they fucking do. Don't even be mad at him. That's the whole point. And Barristan's like, he's right.
The wind blew away, he said. Oh, Jesus.
Barristan asks, so what did Quentin promise to the tattered prince for his help? And eventually Barristan's like, just say he said Pentos. We fucking know. And Archie is like, yeah, they signed a thing. We still have the wind blown in the dungeons, those feigned deserters. I remember Hungerford, Straw, that lot. Some of them weren't so bad for sellswords. Others, well, might be they could stand a bit of dying.
I love that so much. That's so funny to me. That is so funny to me.
Might be they could stand a bit of dying.
And it sounds really, really familiar, but I can't place it. You know what? It's making me think of Cersei's thing about a good raping or whatever. Yeah.
So let's see. Tell him we'll pay his price if he delivers our hostages unharmed and whole. Sir Archibald grimaced. Rags and tatters is more like to give the 2 of us to pretty Maris. He won't do it. Why not? The task is simple enough. I once brought the Queen's father out of Duskendale. That was Westeros. This is Mereen. Arch cannot even hold a sword with those hands. He ought not need to. You'll have sellswords with you. Might we have some time to discuss this? No. I'll do it, offered Archibald, just as long as there are no bloody boats involved. Drink'll do it too. He don't know it yet, but he will. And that was done. I like this a lot. I'm very, very curious how this is going to go. So eventually he goes up. The corpse of Quentin has been removed. He had said that we need to strip the flesh off of him using some beetles, because even though they'd normally burn the body, he's like, after the way this guy died, that feels like a fucked up thing to do.
Yeah.
And let's see. Barristan went on to the terrace. When Bacchus brought his wine, the old knight took one long swallow and sent the boy for water. Lord Han, Grazar, stood in the door, a taper in his hand. The green grace has come. You asked to be told. So she comes in and has a little drink, just some juice. And they talk a little bit, and I started to wonder. I'm wondering if the green grace is the
if she's
Harpy.
the Harpy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she's making a very strong case to have Hisdar released.
Yeah.
And she is saying, you need to release him. He needs to be restored to his rightful place. And Selmy's like, he will be. He just has to prove that he didn't try to kill the queen. Until then, I'm in charge, or the council actually is in charge. And he says to her, and there's a place for you on that council. I know you can teach us all. We need your wisdom. And she is just like, listen, you're flattering me with empty promises, empty courtesies. If you think I'm really wise, listen to me. Release him and restore him to his throne. And somebody's just like, only the queen can do that. And this is going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying, like, listen, this piece that we worked really hard for is in danger. And people are leaving. They are sailing for other cities. One pyramid has already collapsed, killing everybody that lived in it. 2 other pyramids have been fucking commandeered by monsters, which is the 2 dragons that have like just taken 2 different pyramids to set up shop.
Yeah, they're like nesting
hilarious
on top of
to
them.
me.
Yeah,
that is so funny to me. And she says, my people have lost all hope and have turned against the gods themselves, giving their nights to drunkenness and fornication. And some is like, and murder, because while you were away, the sons of Harpy, they killed 30 other people.
Mm-hmm.
And she's acting like she's very sorry to hear this, but also like this is more reason to fucking release him.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. How did he accomplish that? Is Selmy thinking to himself, because Hisdar is the one who stopped all the killings. If he was not himself the Harpy.
Yeah. He doesn't ask her this.
I was so sure he was going to ask her, and he doesn't.
Yeah. I can't tell if it's because he's like got his own suspicions about her. I don't think so. We're inside his head, and he seems pretty confident that it is Hisdar.
Yeah.
But
he does say, her grace gave her hand to him. She made him king, restored the mortal art, and in return, he poisoned her. And the Green Grace was like, no, in return, he gave her peace. You're about to just throw it away. He is not falling for any of this. And she says, well, I took your little message to Young Kai. And you're not going to like their answer. And he says they refused. And she said, yeah, they did. No amount of gold is going to buy your people back. I was told only the blood of dragons can set them free again. And it was the answer that Selmy had expected, if not the one he had hoped to hear. And she says, yeah, I know those are not the words you wish to hear.
She read his mind.
And then there's some talking shit about dragons, which I guess they have not been on their very best behavior. So I guess it's okay. But
they're not trying to eat people anyway. It seems like they were steady going for mutton. So that's good.
They're filling like one place, one pit with like sheep and another pit with some other kind of animal, and they're mostly eating the sheep. But she seems to not be, despite this long supposed not long, but this history she has with Daenerys of like giving good counsel and being a true friend. It doesn't feel very much like she's on their side whatsoever.
Nah.
And she says that Daenerys is dead.
Mm-hmm. Tears glimmered behind her veil. Listened, sorry, not glimmered.
And she says, let the dragons die as well. And he is trying to figure out an answer to this because this cannot stand. And he doesn't know exactly what to say back to her. And they hear like footsteps and somebody busts into the door, and there are brazen beasts following. And somebody asks, "What is it?" And it's the trebuchets, all 6. And the Green Grace says, "Thus the Junkai make reply to your offer. I warned you that you would not like their answer." And somebody says, "Okay, they chose Ward, and so be it. If they think they will break Mereen by throwing stones," and she says, "Not stones," but with a voice full of grief, of fear, "corpses."
Yeah.
If they are throwing the hostages to the wall like this, which is what it sounds like they're doing.
There's a question, like not a question, but like Austin's notes I found very interesting. His suggestion is that they are throwing the bodies of people killed by the Pale Mare to spread the disease inside the walls.
Ugh.
Which hadn't occurred to me, I'll be honest. I thought it was the hostages for sure. And once I read that, I was like, oh no. The hostages, those are all just people I don't really care about because they all suck. But if it's just to like infect the entire city with this horrific disease, ew.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to think about it. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Because now I'm just thinking about what happens to the human body after it's been dead a couple of days and how easily it loses its composition.
Oh, yeah. Those things splattered all over the place. They became like
gross.
A fine vapor.
Gross. Oh, no.
It's like an episode of Bones in here.
Jesus Christ.
All right. Well, we have got how many chapters left at this point? I think there's just the 2.
Oh, really?
Not mistaken? Yep. 1 chapter and then the epilogue.
Really?
That's it. And then we're done.
No shit.
Yep.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
That really snuck up on me.
And I will say that some folks have circulated that they wouldn't mind a live read of the epilogue. I am sort of on the fence about it because the audiobook has it at about 45 minutes. That's a kind of long chapter for a live read. I am considering having you read like half the chapter and stopping at a certain sentence, and then I can live read you the rest of the chapter. I don't know if you would remember to stop reading.
Well, you would have to just tell me, and I would just write it in the book.
Yeah,
I would just underline and make a mark in the book to stop reading there.
I tried to send you the link to that map, and I just realized I sent it to somebody else who has nothing to do with any of this.
I never got it. Yeah, and I was just, it's fine.
They just sent back a question mark, and I was like, oh, sorry. But yeah, so I think I may do it that way, where I'll have you read up until a certain point, because the whole chapter, there is a lot of setup that I think will make the second half of it mean more, and it'll work out pretty well. Because I can't see a whole 45-minute live read. It's just too much. So, and also partway through that epilogue, then I can ask you, like, how do you think this person's doing? Just an overall sense of whether or not you agree with the choices that they're making, because I think there's a lot of conversation to be had about that. With the information they're working with, So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, guys. And just stay tuned for that.
Make sure that I stay tuned.
Oh, I will. I will figure it out. I will find the place to stop it. To stop you. Somebody stop her. And just really quickly, this week's new patrons, I want to say hello to them. Welcome to Lena and Illumais. Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for pledging and supporting the show. If you're interested in also pledging, go to patreon.com/unspoiled. But yeah, Lena and Illumais, new patrons, and appreciate you both. All the support, guys. It really means the world to us. And I understand that everybody's kind of going through a hard time with the economy being what it is. But I have taken a hit, as so many content creators have, and it would be amazing if you tend to like look forward to this podcast and find yourself really like eagerly re-listening and enjoying it. Throw us a couple bucks a month and help us keep the lights on, keep our bellies full of onions and barley thick with venison. I don't know. Just trying to think of some Song of Ice and Fire foods. Oaten cakes and beer. Quail. That's some good stuff. Sister's stew. But yeah, patreon.com/unspoiled. And don't forget to pledge on the website and not the Apple app because of being price gouged for no good reason by Apple.
Mm-hmm. Boy, they just do whatever they can get away with, these companies.
They do.
It really is wild. It's wow.
Yeah.
It really is something. Like, are you in trouble? Like, are you short this month, Apple? Like, what is the reason? Just because we could. That's the reason. Fuck them. That's why.
Fuck them. All right, everybody. We will see you next week for the last chapters of A Dance with Dragons. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Mereen, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.